Sky247.net presents Not Just Cricket. That's right. It is a super duper Sunday because you've got two very big clashes coming your way. Number one, it's Kolkata versus Delhi at the Brahmon Stadium in Mumbai. And then we shift gears to the Wankhede Stadium where Rajasthan, of course, goes head on with Lucknow. Now, Kolkata, the table toppers right here, are contesting against Delhi. If you take a look at their head-to-head, they're pretty even over the seasons, but Kolkata for sure right now has an upper hand with the kind of performance they've been having. Here, take a look at this. Kolkata and Delhi 16-13 in their head-to-head in the Indian T20 League. 29 matches they've played. Kolkata lead 3-2 in the last 5 clashes. All right, I've got with me Niall O'Brien and Deep Das Gupta. It's a bit of a, like a walk down the memory lane with Niall joining us here because he and I have been really good friends over the time. But welcome, Deep. And guys, big match today. I'll start with you, Deep. Kolkata having an upper hand in this one?
Definitely, yes. The kind of cricket that they've been playing. I mean, listen, their top order hasn't fired as yet, and they've won 3 out of 4 games. They've got a brilliant bowling attack, and I think to a great extent that's what I believe in. Your bowling unit wins you tournaments, and I think they've got one of the best bowling attacks going around in the form and in form as well. And with the addition of Pat Cummins, just got better.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about it, Niall, if Andre's muscle doesn't fire, then you got Pat's bat.
Yeah, certainly. He's been a welcome addition to the side, Pat Cummins. He started with a bang, didn't he, with bat in hand. He had a pretty poor outing with the ball. He got smacked for 49, I think, with ball in hand, Pat Cummins, but he made up for it with the bat. Just to echo kind of Deep's sentiments, really, KKR top of the log, and as you mentioned, batters really haven't done the business in the power play as such. And actually, I think there's still a little bit of a kink in their army when it comes to bowling at the the slog overs, if you call it, the last maybe 3 to 4 overs. So, if you're sitting at a Delhi camp, you're thinking, right, we're probably up against it. Kolkata is the favourite team, but we can really try and take advantage of the power play. We try and restrict, take early wickets, and actually backload your innings to try and catch into the back end. But it's going to be very difficult for Delhi. They haven't quite fired, but I still think, and I've said all the way through this tournament for the last 2 weeks, I still think Delhi are a pretty good side. Their strongest 11 to me looks very good. They just haven't quite clicked yet.
That's right. I mean, case in point, even the overseas stars there, Deep, you've got Warner and Norgia, who've looked a little ring rusty at this point. Yeah, I'm going to see a lot of ring adverbs here, because of WWE.
Right. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, last game, both of them came back, but both of them looked a little rusty. They didn't really seem like not at their best. You can understand Nokia because obviously the last time he played in competitive cricket was way back in November, the World Cup, I believe. He hasn't played much cricket since, so yes, you can imagine him to be a little rusty. But Warner was a little bit of a surprise because he's been playing cricket, right? And he's been playing well. But hopefully they'll change things around. While I say KKR or Kolkata is going in as favorites, but if you look at that firepower that Delhi has in terms of match winners, they can definitely turn things around, and they would look to because they've got a really good squad with a lot of match winners. That's a talented side. So there is no reason why they can't turn things around. It's just that at times I felt in the last couple of games that they were a little defensive in their approach.
Yeah, but also Delhi has, an uphill task out there if we talk about Kolkata's middle order because you've got Cummins there, you've got Narayan there. How does one tackle that now?
Well, with ball in hand, Kolkata, you look at Narayan, he's only taken 2 wickets, but he's going at less than 5 and over. So, straight away as a batter, you're thinking, right, how am I going to negate? How am I going to take him on? I think for today, Delhi need to be super aggressive, super, on the front foot. Today is a massive game for them to lay down a marker, I think, for the league. And I think Ricky Ponting is someone who's done that all through his playing career. Lay down a marker, almost forget the last couple of games. Right, come hit Kolkata, take them on head-to-head, throw a few blows early, and really attack Narayan, Chakravarti, these people, trying to set themselves up. Because as Deep said, Delhi have the batting. Rishabh Pant, I think, is a world-class player. I still think he's been a little bit off his best. I don't think he's playing as fluently, especially against spin. We've got likes of Prithvi Shaw. I think he's a beautiful timer of the ball. He can score big, and get the likes of Warner back. So I think for Delhi today, right? Let's forget the last few games. Let's forget you had Norkia coming back and Warner, because sometimes when you've got these stars coming back into your side, because we've got Warner back, we've got Norkia back, and it doesn't always work. It hasn't worked pretty much all through the tournament. Every team has brought back a Bairstow. He's failed. Warner's failed. So actually, I think today is a chance for Ricky Ponting to say, guys, let's forget the last week, 10 days. Hasn't quite got according to plan. Let's take Kolkata on. They're top of the league. Everyone's expecting them to beat us. Let's take them on head-to-head and give it a good crack.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Now that you mentioned Rishabh Pant, and of course you've got Shreyas Iyer on the other side, it's really, really important that we scratch the surface a little on the show. All right, guys, let's take a look at some numbers. This is a numbers tracker powered by Sky247.net. Let's take a look at the numbers in the captaincy record of these two gentlemen that we have. All right, so I think the graphics will just come up. But, just think about it, Deep. You've got Shreyas Iyer, who takes a certain team to the finals. And then in the next season, he starts reasonably well. And then he has an injury. And then, as fate would have it, that the tournament gets postponed because of a global pandemic. And he comes back and he's no longer the captain. Is it a little unfair? Wouldn't the player feel a little unfair, the fact that, the franchise treated him that way?
That's straight out of a movie script. Straight out of a movie script, isn't it? But yeah, listen, it is what it is. We know the backstory, and that makes this game that much more interesting because there are these subplots as well. And this is a major subplot because we're talking about two captains here. Two captains who wanted to lead the side. One of them had to move on and is leading another side. So yeah, look at those captaincy record. Both of them have been good, to be honest. Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant. I think, and Shreyas Iyer this year as well. I thought he led this Kolkata side really well. It's not easy to lead a side coming in first year when you have such established players. You have most of these guys have been around the Kolkata camp for a while, whether it's Sunil Narayan or Andre Russell, even Pat Cummins has played before. Someone like Sheldon Jackson, this would be, I think, his third or fourth year. So he's leading a side who's been in this camp longer than he has. And they're all well established as well. So it doesn't make things easier. On the other side, Rishabh, you know what? I think he's batting a little defensive or conservative. The whole approach is very unlike Rishabh because we've seen Rishabh. He's very aggressive, attacking in his mindset, the way he bats, the way he keeps. But suddenly, I don't know, it's the pressure of captaincy because it does help if you have a good start. And unfortunately, Delhi hasn't had a good start. And some of their key players obviously were missing. Nokia, Warner were missing. If they come back, they haven't really hit the ground running. So it seems like that camp's in a little bit of a pressure there. But hopefully, because they're too good a side. But yeah, this subplot will unfold in the next 3 years.
Yeah. Niall, just to get, the perspective on the player's mindset, you are under the pressure of a bio bubble. And then, in your head, you've been done wrong like that. It's only fair that you move on, right?
Well, you have to. The old saying, there's no point crying over spilt milk because it doesn't do anyone any favors at all. And most importantly, it doesn't do the player any good. If you're dragging up old wounds, opening up old wounds, it's only going to affect your own game. First and foremost, they've got to score runs. That's their job. That's their job. Whether they're captaining or not, they've got to score runs. Or if you're a bowler, your job is to take wickets. So, before everything else, that is your job. So he probably would have been hurting for sure. You do get a little bit wounded. You get a little bit hurt and upset. But cricketers, their job is to play cricket, and they get over it pretty quickly. And I like Rishabh Pant as a captain. I'd like him to captain like he plays. You watch him play Test cricket, winning that wicket first ball, hitting the ball over extra cover for 6. I want to see that Rishabh Pant. I haven't seen it in this tournament yet. And as Deep said, maybe it's due to a slow start. maybe external pressures, but the best way to get all those pressures and break the shackles is to go back to your natural instincts and go back to what you do best. And for Rishabh Pant, is to play aggressive, expansive cricket with a smile on his face, almost that cheeky Pant we see playing Test cricket. So I'm sure we're going to see that today from Pant especially.
No, we definitely all love Rishabh Pant, and there's nothing to take away from the man himself. Because if you take a look at his own records at the same time, his stocks rose after the Australian tour, Deep.
No, absolutely, and I'm with Niall on this. I mean, this is not the Rishabh that we know. This is not the Rishabh that's been so successful at international cricket. So yeah, we've got to see that change. We have to see that change. Well, also a lot has got to do with the communication in that dressing room between him, Ricky, Ajit, Watto's come in as well as a bowling coach. So there are a lot of heads in there, and it's important that all of them are on the same page. Because what I saw in the last game, that whole Robin Powell coming in batting at number 3 was I don't know, that took me by surprise. Not just that he came at number 3, but also the way he batted at number 3. So I hope they've had that conversation amongst themselves and sorted things out. That's one thing that just occurs to me, that they might not be on the same page.
Yeah. All right. Well, those numbers define the subplot as well there. So this was Numbers Tracker powered by Sky247.net. All right then. Niall, I hear you've been making a team, is it? Playing some fantasy game. All right, so guys, this is the fantasy tracker powered by Sky247.net. We'll show you what his team looks like just after this. All right, what does your team look like, Niall? Who's your captain? Who's your vice captain?
Oh yeah, there we go. We got Prithvi as my captain, get me double points there. David Warner, the bull, he's wounded, but he'll bounce back. Venkatesh and Shreyas Iyer. Rishabh Pant obviously going to keep wicket for me, and I've got the powerhouse of Dre and Pat Cummins, and then some lovely bit of spin. Narayan. He hasn't taken many wickets in Narayan, but he's mightily effective. And Umesh Yadav, I think, has been a revelation for Kolkata, as has Kuldeep for Delhi. So. Yeah, I've said it on the show previously, I'm really happy for Kuldeep Yadav because I'm a big fan of his. I mean, you're talking about people's stock rising. His stock was so high a couple of years ago and then just plummeted really down to right down the bottom. So it's lovely to see him playing well, bowling well. And, for Delhi, I think if Delhi are going to go a long way in this competition, Kuldeep Yadav has got a big role to play.
All right. Well, I hope you guys take some tips from that team that Niall's made, because I'm sure that helps you in forming your own team in fantasy gaming. That was the Fantasy Tracker powered by Sky247.net. Now, just before this broadcast started, I have never been to the Brabant Club, and I was just asking Deep, what is it like? So Deep, if you could just throw some light on what are we expecting there, because 69 sixes have already been hit in the last 4 matches.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the highest scoring venue so far, and not surprising at all, because traditionally as well, this pitch is absolutely brilliant to bat on. Right? It's got pace, it's got bounce, it's got carry, and the ground, it's a smallish ground. Today, having said that, it's a fresh pitch. And it's a day game, so it might not be as high scoring as the ones we've seen before. It might just grip a little bit, helping the spinners. And we've got good spinners on either side. So it's going to be Sunil Narayan, Varun Chakravarti against, let's say, Akshar, Lalit, and obviously. So that'll be interesting. And the other important thing, one side today, because it's a little bit on the left side of the square. So one side is a little longer. It's around 78 meters, the other one 69. The pitch, I remember. So the pitch looks like can be a little on the slower side, but you still be expecting around 175.
Yeah, some big scores there, Niall. I mean, what we've seen at the Brabant Stadium. Now and of course, Deep did mention the kind of bowling attack that will be required to sort of limit the damage. How about you?
Average score there this season 189. So take into account day games, night games, you can probably knock 10 runs or so off that. day games have seen giving the spinners a little bit more assistance. So we're seeing someone like Narayan obviously will be mightily effective. How they use him will be interesting. Will they give him one of the power play, or will they bowl him through the middle, or Chakravarti maybe one up top? So I think it should be a pretty good pitch. I obviously went to a couple of games there last week. It's a good venue, a pretty good atmosphere actually. Probably the best atmosphere of the three venues I've been to during this Indian T20 League. So yeah, it should be a pretty good surface. There's no demons. Every surface, I don't think we've had a bad pitch so far. Every pitch has been pretty good. It's just how you express yourself and how you tackle the power play, really. How you get yourself off to a good start. And that's going to be the big kind of question for Kolkata, because they've had a poor power play. So like Ajika Rahane has really battled. He's had a pretty poor tournament so far. It was an interesting move, I thought, going for Rahane in the auction. And give them the opportunity. Once they signed him, I suppose they had to give him a go up front, but hasn't really worked out to date.
Yeah, and also deep luck favors the brave, is it? Kolkata won the toss, chosen to bowl.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do generally speaking, but it's all right to kind of bat first as well, to be honest, because obviously one of the things will not have an effect, which is the deep factor. There won't be affecting this game. Afternoon games. Secondly, because of all the heat and everything else, the second innings the pitch might get a little slower. Even though when we're talking about second innings, we're talking about 6:37-ish, that little overs. Might get cooler. It might just settle down that pitch. But but in white ball cricket, chances are you would want to chase them because you have a total in front of you. You know how to go about it. Not surprised at all.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kolkata's middle overs maestros, which are Narayan and Varun Chakravarti. Now they hardly give away anything in the middle overs. How do Delhi back themselves during this phase?
Go ahead straight.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you just got to try and hit them straight. They're not big turners of the ball. They don't turn the ball like a big, ripping leg spinner. Yeah, the numbers are brilliant. They've only taken 5 wickets, so they're not going to kind of get a massive haul. You wouldn't think. Where you come unstuck, and we call them mystery spinners. There is a little bit of mystery, but they're not turning the ball massive either way. So you got to try and hit the ball down the ground. You got to back yourself to use your feet. A lot of batters in this tournament against the likes of Narayan, they just stay in their crease. So once you stay in your crease, when Narayan is so accurate, and Chakravarti to that extent as well, when they're so accurate and you're going to stay in your crease, you're really limiting where you can score. So you've got to back yourself to get down the pitch and back yourself to make your alignment, your head and your feet alignment correct to get down the line of the ball and hit through the line, because it's not a massive hit down the ground. And these batters nowadays, once you get 60% connection, it's going to go down the ground. So where you get yourself in trouble, especially against Narayan, you start moving around your crease and sweeping. So I would advise, try and get down the pitch, back yourself not to run past one. If you run past one and get stumped, so be it. But you've got to be brave. You have to be brave. You have to take these bowlers on head on. Because if you sit and watch and be timid, 3-4 overs tick by, and then you're so far behind the 8 ball that you've got to try and make it up against the other bowlers. So I would just try and take them on, try and be aggressive.
All right, let's quickly take
it. Sorry, quickly. What has also happened is the fact that this season Umesh is picking up wickets. So by the time Sunil Narayan and Varun come into bowl, we've already lost a wicket or two. So it becomes that much more difficult to kind of attack when you've already lost a couple of wickets, and that's where I think Umesh is doing a fabulous job and helping these two guys out in the middle.
Yeah, no doubt about that. In fact, we'll talk about Umesh a little more, but here are some changes that have happened in the Delhi squad. Kolkata remains unchanged. Delhi one change instead of Nokia. They've got Khalil Ahmed. He played in the first 2 games. A word on that change that Delhi's making.
Well, overseas out. You said Nokia was out. Is that right?
Yeah. Instead of Nokia, yeah.
He came back too soon. No doubt about it. The talk was he was going to be available for the second half of the tournament, and then 12 days in, he's playing. So that's a rush decision from management to play a player when he's not 100% fit. Now they could have brought Lungi Gideon, another overseas player who's got a wonderful record. He's coming back from a little niggle, but I think he's okay. He had a wonderful record for Chennai when he played, his strike rate, etc. But yeah, Khalid Ahmed back in. It's no surprise Nokia is out because it just wasn't fit.
Yeah. 3 overseas players for Delhi today, Deep.
Yeah, I mean, even Mumbai went in with two yesterday, three today, and it makes a little bit of sense because it's an afternoon game. Khalil can bowl those cutters, he bowls it really well. I still remember Khalil here at this venue, if I'm not wrong, against West Indies, picked up 3 4 wickets as well a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, or maybe a little more. So he's got good memories of this venue. So yeah, I mean, why not? And like I said, those cutters and all might be very very useful on the field.
Okay, let's talk about the battle that we have in the cards. We've got Umesh and Shaw. How about that battle? Impact and batting power play.
Yeah, that's a mouth-watering one, isn't it? Pretty, especially the way he's been hitting all right through the season, but obviously last game was special. It was, I mean, because he got runs, but even otherwise he's been hitting well. Look at that strike rate, 161. That's phenomenal. Well, that's what he can do. So obviously he's in good nick. On the other hand, Umesh, he's picked up what I think this is power plays, right? So power plays is picked
Oh,
six,
please.
and yeah, I mean in 4 games, that's how. I mean his contribution has been so huge. We at times obviously just look at the number of wickets and all. Look at the economy as well. 4.6 is the power play over. So it becomes very very difficult to kind of attack then Sunil Narayan and Varun Chakravarti because you've already won. You haven't got a good start in terms of strike rate or run rate, and also you've lost a couple of wickets. So I think yeah, I mean he's doing a fabulous job, and I'm so happy because at this point in time, I always thought last few years that Umesh has been very unfortunate. You look at his India numbers as well, his test numbers, he's been fabulous every time he's got an opportunity, but he doesn't get it frequently enough. But I'm so glad that he's doing so well. That generation, few of them left. Ishant's not here. You obviously Shami is here. Bumrah is next generation. But as far as that generation is concerned, I'm so glad that Umesh.
Yeah, but Nile has already made a decision as to who's coming out on top in that contest because Prithvi Shaw is his captain in the fantasy team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a top. I really do. Yeah, I watched him play just when I was over in Mumbai. He's a beautiful timer of the ball. He really is. He hits the ball hard. He's just a very, very. He looks a really talented. Still feel his best is yet to come. He needs to carry on a big innings here. He needs to carry on that form. He's playing nicely. His strike rate's good. And yes, Umesh Yadav is bowling well, but Prithvi Shaw won't take a backward step, and it should be pretty exciting actually.
So basically,
Yeah,
what
indeed.
Nile wants is Prithvi to score runs. Umesh take wickets, but not Prithvi's wickets.
Correct. We've got that sorted. All right. Well, quick look at what the social media is talking about, in these days, especially after yesterday's match. Here's the social tracker powered by Sky247.net. Okay, so of course we're going to take a look at some of the tweets, and here we go. Virat Kohli, always a pleasure to see you, Paji, for Sachin Tendulkar. I like this. This is, we're looking at the transfer of knowledge, feeding off legends and passing it on. We've got Duval Brevis saying, I'll never forget seeing Virat Kohli play for the first time at Hobart. I was still very young. Virat, you will always be my hero and role model. You and ABD inspire me to play this beautiful game called cricket. All right. I've also seen, one thing that I've also noticed about Niall. I've not spent so much time with you, Deep, honestly, on the field, but Niall is also one person. He will go and speak to every single cricketer. He will go and, if there is a youngster, he will go and give knowledge. He will take it back to improve his commentary skills. This is something that even Niall does. And of course, it's something that is a trend in the world of cricket for sure. Niall?
Well, that's Nile, right? I mean, he'll talk to anyone,
Everybody.
on or off the cricket field.
I tell you what, Divo Brevis is doing well though. He's a young lad. He obviously knows exactly how to use the social media. So he's just thinking down the line. He's just thinking auctions in a couple of years' time. His prices are doubling every time. Brilliant to spend time with Virat. Next week he'll be brilliant to spend time at MSD. Now he's just working the room.
All right. It's really good to see, of course, these visuals and our social for sure tracks that. All right. This was our social tracker powered by Sky247.net. All right. Well, we've obviously spoken about what the match we have in hand is today, but here I'm going to put my guests in a bit of a spot. This is called the Trivia Tracker. There are a few questions that I have, and let's see who gets it right. It's a bit of a competition between Nile and Deep. This is Trivia Tracker coming up next, powered by Sky247.net. I hear that Nile has a bit of a reputation around the Trivia Tracker.
Yes, it's been terrible.
Okay, guys, the very first one coming your way is stargazing. You have to guess the two stars. Who goes first?
Chahar
Sorry?
and Kuldeep. I said Chahar and Kuldeep.
No, Cheher and Kuldeep is not the right answer.
No, Chahar. Rahul Chahar?
No, Cheher and
Yadav and Pant.
Yadav and?
Yeah.
Pant.
Lalit
No.
Yadav, I guess. Yeah. Lalit Yadav is one of them.
No. Any more guesses?
Umesh? Lalit?
Yeah?
Umesh and Lalit?
No. Umesh is right, so you get 50%. There are two Yadavs there.
Yeah, I said Yadav. I just didn't
Yes,
Kuldeep
so
then.
you said Umesh and who's the second guy?
Kuldeep. He said Yadav, so yeah, I makes sense.
So that's Umesh Yadav and Kuldeep Yadav. All right, both of you don't get it. Next question. Who had the honor of facing and bowling the first ever delivery in the Indian T20 League? Who had the honor of facing and bowling the first ever delivery?
Brandon McCullum.
McCullum was the batter.
No.
Who opened for KKR?
Gautam Gambhir.
No.
No, Gautam was in Delhi. Kolkata.
Ganguly.
Ganguly is right.
Yeah.
Who's the guy?
Ganguly is right. You got 5 seconds.
Against two.
Ganguly is right.
Ishant?
No.
The first ball?
No. Who was Ganguly facing?
Who did Kolkata play? I'm trying to remember who they played.
Dale. No, not Dale. Is it Dale's name?
You get 50% of it right, Niall. All right, so the correct answer is Praveen Kumar. Saurav Ganguly faced the first ball, bowled by Praveen Kumar, and that's the right answer.
Yes.
So Niall is actually leading here.
How is
Alright,
he
who's-
leading?
Because none of you guys got the previous one. Whose autobiography is titled at the close of play? This one's easy. This one's damn easy.
Close of play.
Whose autobiography? No Googling, Deep. I can see you fiddling with your phone.
No. I'm going to tell you.
I'm looking at my bookshelf. Close of play.
Bowler,
Close.
batter, umpire.
Been a very strong captain.
Nasir.
Hmm?
Nasir?
Ganguly.
No, he's been a very, very strong captain, batsman. All right, guys, nobody gets it. Answer is Ricky Ponting.
Wow.
Ponting wrote
Who's
the
autobiography? Yeah, Ricky Ponting at close of play.
Oh.
All right, Niall wins this one by a decimal point. That much.
I won by default.
And he got Yadav's right in the first one. But I hope you guys also, everybody who's watching us, I'm sure this adds. And please do, of course, write in the feedback how many of you actually got all three of them right. So do let us know about that as well. So this was Trivia Tracker powered by Sky247.net. Okay, now as we head towards the match, quick predictions, Deep, go for it.
Right, I'm going to go with my head and say KKR, Kolkata. And also my
Oh, you're going with your head, is it? This time it's KKR. All right, Niall?
No, I'm going to go for Delhi. I think Wipe the slate clean, start again, start afresh. Delhi for me.
That's from the head or from the heart?
Head, heart, body, mind, soul, wherever it is.
Okay, then we've got a contest in our hands here, and also we had a poll. Let's take a look at the poll and the question that we followed, and let's see how the results came out there. Who do you back to become India's next white ball captain after Rohit? Shreyas Iyer got 66%, Rishabh Pant got 34%. A quick reaction on that, Deep. Who do you back?
I'm sitting on the fence for this one.
Okay.
I'm sitting on the fence.
What about you, Niall? Come on, you can go ahead from the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the keeper. I'm going to go with Rishabh Pant. There we go.
All right, so Niall's backing Rishabh Pant. We've got a bit of contest here. We've got Deep saying that today is going to be Kolkata. Niall saying it's going to be Delhi. Only time will tell as the mystery unfolds at the Brabant Stadium. I'm not going to keep you guys waiting because we've got a match to catch. I'm going to see you at commentary, Deep. Of course, hear you at commentary and then see you at the post show. See you, Niall. And thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And remember, we will meet you for the post-show after this match and also the pre-show of the next one, which is Lucknow versus Rajasthan. You stay tuned.